this is a joint venture between the World Intellectual Forum and TransBrahma, which is an Indian project established by Dr. Siddhartha and colleagues. He'll be talking about that in a minute. But his ideas and ours are so similar that we thought we ought to do a joint event. He wants to get a World Intellectual Forum type thing going in India for science and spirituality. We're doing the same, so let's cooperate. And the whole idea of the World Intellectual Forum is to bring, intellectuals together from all over the planet with an open agenda to think through the world's problems. It's not like we have the answer, it's we have some of the questions. And greetings, Dr. Fry, you've joined us from Australia. Welcome.
Yes, my apologies for being a little late, but thank you, Daffern.
Okay, so welcome. I'm doing the sort of first slot, the introductory thing, and I hope that people can see me on screen. Is there, now, how do I get the screen sharing thing going? Can you all see me on the screen at the moment?
Yes.
I think it should be that whoever's talking gets to be seen. That's the plan. Right, so as I was saying, now I've got a few remarks I want to make to begin to kick off. We're talking about sort of global spirituality and ethics and philosophy. Global thinking for peace and sustainability is our title. What role can faith, spirituality, and philosophy play in this process? Now, that's a huge topic. I mean, each of us could probably give a 2-hour lecture on that, but we're being very good and restricting ourselves to 15 minutes each. So I want to just share a few thoughts. Colleagues are probably familiar with aspects of my work, so this won't be too new, but I hope there are some things I'll be saying that will be new. If you could mute your microphones when you're not speaking, that would help, because I think the sound quality gets better if that's done. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is that religion, spirituality, philosophy, and Dharma, they're all different linguistic attempts to describe a sort of field of knowledge, a field of studies, which is both academic but also practical. It's an existential thing that all of us on the planet are involved with. We all ask questions like, what's the meaning of life? What's the purpose? Is there a God? What's my mind? All these kind of questions. And some of us go on to study it professionally and like, don't give up. But I think one of the things we need to do is a linguistic analysis of all these terms. And I've done that in a dictionary of philosophical terminology. The word Dharma has slightly different meanings than the word religion. And I know our next speaker might be talking about this, as might Dr. Gulab later. I say, let's study them all. Let's be eclectic. I'm an eclectic philosopher. But what I do think is important, let's home in on two things. Firstly, the metaphysics behind reality. Let's sharpen our brains and do some serious metaphysics, which takes on board the findings of science, doesn't go against science, but asks deeper questions. I'm a, God knows what, a spiritual materialist. I believe in the findings of material science, but I just don't think they've gone far enough. And so the school of what used to be called dialectical materialism and great thinkers like Vernadsky from Russia, they were asking really profound questions which still haven't been answered. And so I think we should revive some deep questions about science and spirituality. But the fundamental thing I'm interested in is ethics. And I think ethics, the difference between good and evil, right and wrong, choice, as a planet, we're at a turning point. We've got to a point of total lockdown because we've let the scientific community do what it wants. We've let them invent weapons of mass destruction, biowarfare, abilities, God knows what they're up to. It's time we, the people of the planet, the intellectuals of the planet, say enough is enough, you scientists. Come in from the cold and do some ethics. Come and do some basic philosophy. Thou shalt not kill. And that means thou shalt not devise weapons of mass destruction. The World Intellectual Forum has pledged to seeing all nuclear weapons removed from the planet and all weapons of mass destruction, biological and chemical. And I'd like to see the military scale down to about 10% of what it is at the moment. These are ethical issues. And I can announce that today, or possibly tomorrow now, I'm publishing a book called The Ethical Calculus, which is a scientific attempt to make a tool to make very complicated ethical choices, which can be used personally by people in their own personal lives, or it can be used by groups or presidents or academics. Anyway, I'm giving that to the world. It's a system I invented based on my study of ethics over many years, and I spent a few months putting it together. Secondly, I want to put on the table, I did mention this in the preamble that I sent to everybody, the idea of a periodic table of religion and philosophical traditions. I've been inspired by Mendeleev, who did this for the chemical elements. Well, why shouldn't we have one for religions and philosophies? They are very complex. To study all the nuances of the different types of Buddhism or the different types of Islam or Hinduism or Christianity, you know, this is a really complex field. And as you know, I've specialized in it. I taught it in schools at high level for 10 years. And I devised this periodic table, which some of you may have seen. It looks exactly like the chemical table of the elements. And it's a tool that we can use to map and understand all these different religious and philosophical traditions. The third thing I want to say is, okay, so you might say, like some bright, you know, science student of mine would say, well, this is all very well, sir, but I don't believe in God, so it's all nonsense. I don't believe in philosophy. Why should I bother with it? You know, I want to be a scientist and study real stuff, maths, engineering, technology. So I've thought about this long and hard, and I've been to the manor where Sir Isaac Newton invented the theories of gravity, and he put it in his book called Principia Mathematica. I communed with his spirit, and I asked him, well, come on, Newton, the world's running amok with mathematics. They've taken over. So I've come up with the sequel to Newton's book, Principia Mathematica. This is not a small project. I call it the Philosophiae Religionis Principia Mathematica. So this is an homage to Newton, who wrote the Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy. That's the title in Latin. So I've written the Mathematical Principles of Religious Philosophies. This is, and what I'm trying to say is there's an overlap between religious studies as a field and philosophical studies and mathematics. And I regard it as two Venn diagrams. When they meet in the middle, the area between is called religious mathematics. And this includes all kinds of questions like, how many souls do we have? How many lifetimes do we have? How many minds do we have? How many gods are there? How many worlds are there? What are numbers? Are numbers divine? You know, as many philosophers used to say, like Iamblichus and Plato and all that. So it's a really interesting field. I've gone into it in great detail. And I've just published it yesterday on the anniversary of St. Michael's Day, which I think is symbolic because I love St. Michael, great patron saint of all practicing, you know, wisdom workers. So that's my offering to you all, humbly. It's the first volume. It's a massive work. I won't be able to finish it. I mean, it's just starting a new field, right? Religious mathematics. And then the final thing I want to say is that how can this help with peace? Because don't forget, that's what we're doing here, the World Intellectual Forum. We're peace thinkers, and I run an institute for philosophy of peace. Well, I think that the problems of the world are because there's this schizophrenic divorce going on among some of the greatest minds on the planet. There's the religious thinkers who are all off praying, doing their, you know, beseeching God in many different names, some of the greatest minds on the planet. And then there are scientific minds who think mathematically, who accept no idea of God, like Laplace. I don't have a need of this hypothesis, he told Napoleon. And there are millions of people like that. And these two tribes never talk to each other, hardly. We're one of the few places where scientists and theologians and mystics can actually talk together intelligently. And I wish there were more. Normally, they don't talk to each other. And it seems to me the mathematicians and scientists have taken too much power. They've stolen academia. They've stolen the media, you know. And the conventional idea is religions are all crazy. they're all lunatics and they all should be locked up. Well, I don't accept that, no. I'm with Descartes. You know, in spite of all the cleverness of mathematics, we still need ethics and we still need some kind of spirituality to guide us into the harbor of peace. Okay, so that's my opening remarks, and I'm gonna stop there, and I hope that you know, we won't do questions at the because there won't be time, but we'll save. There's a bit of time right at the end, and if any of our speakers don't come, then we can do questions then. But so look, I'm going to move on now and invite our next speaker, who is Professor Siddhartha from TransBrahma, and who's joining us from India. So Dr. Siddhartha, over to you, and do welcome people on behalf of TransBrahma as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Daffern. Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be with you. It's a privilege to be with Professor Swaminathan. It's a privilege to be with Dr. Katyayani Singh, Professor Alexander Chumako, and of course, Glenn Martin and Yoros as well. And all of the dignitaries, my greetings to all of you. Now, I'm going to begin with a Sanskrit shlok. The Sanskrit shlok goes on to read like, Vichara param jnanam shamohi param sukham. Now, translated into English, it basically means curiosity is the greatest knowledge and peace is the greatest luxury. Now, peace is best translated into independence. It is best translated into sustainability of living, sustainability of identity, sustainability of your changing thinking that strives for creativity, but always without compromising on the future generation to lose it. Sustainability is the capacity to endure and maintain that situation. It is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising on the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. Now, nothing gives greater independence and peace than these two philosophies. Therefore, peace and sustainability coexist. They go side by side. Peace and sustainability model is akin to Ram Rajya model, the one model that was responded by Lord Ram at one point of a time, and the model of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is the whole of the world is a family. India was a sustainable and a peaceful nation, state, and a peaceful nation state till Islamic invasion. The kings of India, can you imagine it? They used to be poets, they used to be artists, they used to be mathematicians during this time. Now, this model of a spiritual cosmopolis, as I call it, existed till the 10th century, and India used to be having a global presence in this case. We, the world community, do require to bring the entire cosmos into such a spiritual awakening for a sustainable and a peaceful world. So what exactly is a global thinking for peace can go on to do? A global thinking for peace is the most important bulwark as it can go to foster a lot of things. For example, it can go to foster creativity, it can go to foster independence, it can go to foster prosperity, independence, progress, which is not the equivalence of change or the hackneyed notions of growth that we go to talk about right now. Now, peace does not only refer to the lack of conflict, but at the same time refers to the security in social relations or economic welfare, as well as equality of justice in political relations of a state. And mind you, justice is not always in law. Justice is all about how we treat each other. Justice and sustainability are the two harbingers of peace. Sustainability is the ultimate state of development. A world that is secure from degradation, it's secure from disease, it's free from insecurities of leading the life, secure from resource crunch, it's exhaustion of the resources, and prevention of the inevitable movement towards entropy is the word that is sustainable. Sustainability is essentially a continuity, not an effort towards bridging metastable equilibrium and reaching a new threshold defined by cutting-edge technology and a grandeur management method as well. In a perceptual environment, there is no better synonymity than to it than that of peace. Sustainability is essentially a reflection of its society, its ethos, the ethos of its thinking, faith, spirituality, and philosophy, of course. And it's in our thinking that determines sustainability or peace. Faith never allows us, coming on to the role of faith, faith never allows us to feel bitter, to feel trouble, and fills the mankind, and also it doesn't go to fill the mankind with hatred and revenge. Faith never makes you manipulative as well. Faith bends you towards simplicity and instills optimism and security. It is fear that breeds insecurity, and insecurity that goes into breed doubt. Faith prevents insecurity and paves way for both peace and independence. Faith contributes by empowering the weak and by influencing the moral, political climate as well. What has happened of late is a competition towards materialism that has disturbed the empowerment, and material outlook has disturbed the peace in comparison to a non-material outlook that goes on to foster it. Rule of sustainability happens to be different. Sustainability encompasses three dimensions. That is, it is the capacity to endure and maintain a system over time so that it maintains negentropy, that is minimum amount of a disturbance, and it refers to the interdependence of economic, ecological, and social order. Sustainability is aided by and governed by, helped by, and guided by spirituality. And spirituality is never to be confused with religion. It is never to be confused with faith. Sustainability can't go to be an exclusive preserve of any individual or any single country and isolated communities, as it transcends all boundaries, all communities, and therefore an earthmanship approach is what exactly is required. I mean, belonging to the whole of the earth. And this is what will be moral, and this is what exactly is ethics that Professor Daffern was talking about, and what will be involved. Sustainability is guided by a spiritual conceptualization that is so different from a religion. We do not require a religious mind and a world, not a mind, not a world, as much as we require a spiritual one. This is because religion is an adaptation, and an adaptation to nature and surroundings may not be peaceful and sustainable, since it may require alteration of its behavioral, ecological, and economic surrounding. In contrast, spirituality is not an adaptation to outer surroundings. Spirituality is what one is to oneself. Then religion can be a set of dogmatic rules for running the society. Spirituality prompts humans to reason about everything and to understand everything and even disorder as well. This favors the understanding of tranquil or turbulent environment. Now, we need an open mind for peace and sustainability. Religion binds it. That is the role of religion. While spirituality goes on to open the mind. It is only spirituality that is governed by the ability to reason out actions and thinking and gives inner peace. Spirituality is also constant learning. It says, learn from an error, learn from surroundings. Its constant adaptation is in response to notions of humanity, and that too with reason. Religion doesn't tolerate being questioned. It doesn't allow itself to be questioned at all. Spirituality questions everything, tries to understand everything, sees situations from varied perspectives, and it can be very, very truthful. Spirituality encourages to make inquiry into everything. Spirituality asks not to believe even in your own minds and thoughts. It asks you to doubt the doubter. That is the best expression of it, to find the truth. Spirituality asks a question: are you proud of Hinduism, or are you proud of Islamism? Not asking, are you proud to be a Hindu, or are you proud to be a Muslim? Spirituality is divine without any intervention of human rules. There can be 100 types of spirituality by 100 different people. Maybe my spirituality is different from you, but we both can be spiritual. And all of them will be unique. All of them will be extraordinary. All of them will be exceptional. To find true independence, that is the ultimate peace, and it has to be spiritual. Moreover, spirituality never divides. It is the most unifying force mankind has known. There can't going to be a Islamic spirituality, there can't be a Christian spirituality or a Hindu spirituality. Spirituality is a spirituality and its transparency of thinking, a sorting of oneself. And that is where exactly it goes on to talk of. Spirituality focuses on experience, while religion focuses on a beliefs. Spirituality is experiential, and in an experiential economy, it is the best bet towards which we are moving right now. The most peaceful state is being in solitude. This is something that we have known, we understand that part. And spirituality is actually a walk in solitude. It doesn't go to make you alone. If you are spiritual, if the world is spiritual, they will never going to feel alone, and they're never going to require to take a recourse of any of these type of ideologies or any aspects. And that's what we require for a peaceful existence. This is because the spirituality focuses on individuals' progress rather than finding and towards finding the ultimate truth. Being in love is a spirituality. Being attracted to the human being, and it follows a protocol of following a process of being together, culminating in marriage as per religious norms. Being spiritual is letting it to be independent, letting it to be free and without any preconditions. Love doesn't want to be having any preconditions. Getting attracted with a purpose is a precondition in this case. And this is the basic anecdote of peace. Nothing transaction, everything for peace, everything is sustainable. We are not human beings who go through spiritual existence. We are spiritual beings who actually go through a human experience in this case. That goes on to bring us onto the role of philosophy. A global search for peace and sustainability requires many philosophical transitions and changing paradigms. Paradigms of resource use philosophy, paradigms of economic philosophy, paradigms of political philosophy, paradigms of spiritual philosophy and feminist philosophy as well. It requires to understand and change the notion of family and create an extended family that goes into create a global family. Family is not going to be confined. That's a philosophy that we require to change. It requires the philosophy of resource use and energy transition to high efficiency in production and use, coupled with a greater reliance on renewable energy resources. The other philosophical transition is a requirement of management of resources and its transition to reliance on nature's income without depleting its capital. That will go on to bring so much amount of sustainability. The philosophy seeks to devise an economic philosophy that talks of a transition to a broader and equitable sharing of the benefits of development. It also enunciates a political philosophy that seeks a transition to global negotiations and broader participation, greater amount of participation. That is a multi-perspective world, which we go on to be calling in geopolitical world as de-hyphenating of the relationship. And of course, it is also an ethical, spiritual, philosophical transition to attitudes that do not separate humans from nature and from each other. These are the three ways where global peace and sustainability can be ensured. I'm so thankful to Professor Daffern to have given me this opportunity to talk about this topic and present my view. Thank you so much, World Intellectual Forum. Thank you so much, all the dignitaries in this place. Over to Professor.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Siddhartha. That was a masterful exposition. Thank you. And I should just explain, we met, Dr. Siddhartha organized a conference recently, in the Zoom period, which I spoke at, and we've got to understand, and he's an expert in resource management. He's a geographer and a geologist. So he's a scientist, but he's also interested in, the ethical perspective on ecology and all this. So I think we are speaking the same language from slightly different angles. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, now we come to our next speaker, who is the global chair of the World Intellectual Forum, Dr. Swaminathan, who's joining us from, I think, Hyderabad, down in the south of India. And you're among old friends here, Dr. Swaminathan. So I'm glad you can join us. And we're looking forward to your talk. How are you? You'll have to unmute, sir. You need to unmute your microphone. Right, let me see. Do you know how to do that?
Yes, no. Yes. Hello, everybody on the panel. I must thank Dr. Thomas for organizing this Zoom meeting to discuss mostly world problems. I think we are most interested in what is happening at the global level. And that's how I think it's chosen a topic of global relevance, and spirituality, faith, and then religion, and how it is going to help bring about peace and security at the global level. And Dr. Siddhartha spoke very well, and he clearly clarified what is faith, and then religion, spirituality is good thing. I don't want to get into a hardcore lecture, but I thought if I should share with you very briefly within the given time. I would like to raise 4 issues for which we can discuss, or I can express my own thoughts on these 4 issues. The first issue, of course, is known to everybody, that the catastrophic situation where the planet Earth is going through due to the dangers of the nuclear, biological, chemical weapons of mass destruction usage, and also the climate change, and also the cyber crimes, and so on and so forth. All these are known, which the planet is plagued with. And also even still, the horrifying memories of the World War I and World War II are haunting us. There seems to be a prospect for a third world war to bring about more Holocaust to the world at large. Now, we don't want to see again the impact of the nuclear bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We don't want to see it again. So these are the situations which we are there. But now, what is solution? Many people are there, many organizations are there, many intellectuals are there. They are trying to bring out solutions for these problems. The world organizations, existing world organizations, seems to be inadequately equipped to tackle these problems, like the United Nations. I don't think the United Nations has come about and then try to solve all these problems. That is known to everybody. And also the non-state actors and civil societies and individuals, as I said, they are also exercising their minds to bring about solutions, suggest solutions for this. But none seems to be working. Therefore, a situation has arrived that as intellectuals, again, we can put our brains together and see what could be the possible solution, based on the failures of the existing global institutions. Now, as Einstein and our Indian leaders like Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and others, they have felt that there should be a world government. In the 19th and 20th century, has witnessed the revival of the idea of the world government. And therefore, the solution seems to be bringing about a world government. I think many people may not accept it, but still, I think, to my mind, the solution is to be a world government with authority, and also with the checks and balances. With authority, checks and balances, only that kind of mechanism will be able to deliver the goods in the normal way of persuasion, and then without any power, without any authority, nothing will happen at the global level. Therefore, in my point of view is to have a world government with authority for implementation and with the checks and balances. You don't see that it's going to turn into an organization where dictatorship would come into place. We don't want that, but with careful formulation, we want to have a global organization like a world government with democratic credentials. Without democratic credentials, we don't want to see anything to come up like that. So in the end, we would like to see that a global federal democratic system should come at the global level in place of the United Nations. And this federal system should have representation of all the people's representatives of all countries. All countries will form together a world parliament with proportional representation of their MPs, and there is no fresh elections for the world government and world parliament. Therefore, this is one of the ideas I have put forward. And last time, Dr. Thomas also did a foreword to my book, The New World Government, the Structures and Constitution. And after that, I also thought about, again, instead of going unilaterally, individually, in one way, it is better to have a unified global approach. So you must have a unified global agenda, and then try to implement that global agenda, bringing to all people together. So working together, that would be a better idea than simply suggesting a world government and then I see that it gets into action and its own. It won't happen like that. So get to the consent of all the people, make a global agenda, and then implement it as a manifesto of the world government. And then that would end up perhaps in desirable results. Again, I have written another book on that, the global agenda and the world government. It is being printed. So this is my own idea of how to bring about the world peace and security at the global level and save the planet. Because this world government will also interfere with the space also, space activities for using its space peaceful purposes, and then trying to slow down the competitiveness among nations, and then try to dominate, etc., etc. Therefore, this is what I thought I should place before you. Instead of talking of philosophy, spirituality, because I'm not an expert in those areas, therefore I thought I should place before you these few issues for your consideration. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Swaminathan. So we have a few minutes for questions. You've not used up all your allocated time.
Yes.
Does anyone have a question for Professor Swaminathan? We have 5 minutes or so for discussion. I'll go first then.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we've had several people on our board on the World Intellectual Forum who want a world government. Yourself, we're hearing from Glenn Martin later, and there's others. It's something I've been involved with for the last 30 years. You know, I used to be on the World Federalist Association. Of course, I'd love a world government tomorrow along ethical lines. So my question is, but my problem is, how do we get there from here? And the metaphor I use is, we're on the Titanic, there's an iceberg ahead, and to say world government is like shouting we should go back to dry dock. You know, we've got to somehow turn this ship around. And so how do we do that? So, you know, how do we get there from here? Given that politicians have a level of mendacity, they're all egocentric, their parties are corrupt. You know, I mean, the communists wanted world government, and Stalin thought he could shoot everyone that didn't agree with him. How do we stop that kind of nonsense?
Yes.
Surely there has to be a moral transformation of people as well,
that's
as
right.
the political solution.
Wonderful. That's a good question indeed. The first step we are doing now, putting our intellectual brains together and bring about a solution. Now you are talking about how to implement it, how to put it on the ground so that it gets implemented. Yes, this also, in my book, I have given a plan of action. How to go about plan of action is step by step to pursue people, to pursue the governments, local level, etc. For that, I think we need a focused attention through a project. I gave 20 years, minimum 20 years it takes to form a new world government. This is what my estimation is. So for 20 years, various steps are to be followed, persuasion is to be done, and various ways of attacking the dissent in this case. So that's why I suggested 20 years plan of action, and then somebody should take up a project for this, because it can't happen on its own. So if WIF, World Intellectual Forum, is given a project, when somebody is interested in that, then we'll do that in 20 years plan. So that's how about, so I want to go like this. This is only way of doing things, because you can leave it in the air. You can leave it in the air, it can't pick up on its own. Therefore, a specific project should be handled by a responsible world organization like WIF.
Okay, I will hand over to another questioner. Glenn, I'm sure you've got a question here. This is your field, after all. What would you like to ask the chairman? You'll have to unmute, sir.
Sorry?
Okay. Well, I realize the problems that both of you are mentioning. We don't want global tyranny. We don't want a global amalgamation of cultures and individualities of the peoples, many peoples of the world. But I don't. My own view is that there is a mechanism for making this happen now, and that is the Earth Constitution. And the Constitution for the Federation of Earth is there, and it is in. It details a methodology by which human beings can take concrete and specific steps to actualize it. Article 19 gives that methodology. So I think it solves these problems that you gentlemen are raising. And since it's something that's there, I'll be talking a little bit more about that in relationship to spirituality in my own talk. I don't see why this shouldn't be a central object of discussion and focus. Dr. Swaminathan is familiar with that. I know he's asked me to send him, we've been in contact about that, but in his talk, he never mentioned that document. you know, and yeah, I wonder if there's some reason why.
No, there's no reason for that. See, I too agree with regard to the issue of cultural amalgamation and then a crucible of a melting point for all the cultures put together. That is needed also. And also the interfaith dialogues should go on, spirituality, the faith, and then for this, in my proposal, I have made provision for the World Cultural Council, where all Dr. Thomas has listed about for so many countries, so many cultures are there. So therefore, World Cultural Council is the one which takes care of the cultural component. And then I got this World Interfaith Council, where their strength could be used for bring about peace and security. So these components are already there to discuss that thing. And apart from that, the new issue that I added is we left out the fourth estate, the press, electronic media, other things. They have got the very good influence. They can make or break any country. Therefore, I said, you let us involve in this world government as an interface, the fourth estate also, along with the non-state actors like yours and others, also this put together. This will act as a world think tank for the world government. So this concept I made it. So this all these things are to be discussed in detail at any time.
Okay, well, thank you for your eloquent reply. I think that World Intellectual Forum, we should have a subgroup on world governance, and we should get everyone on it and go through these details. You know, nobody has the perfect plan. I love the work Glenn does. I've supported that group for years, but, you know, maybe it needs tweaking. Maybe we can add in new ideas.
Yes, yes.
Anyway, thank you for your contribution, Swaminathan, and give our love to Hyderabad and the South.
Thank you very much.
And now we come to Professor Arun Sikarwar from TransBrahma, who's a scientist. He's going to share some thoughts, I believe, on biology from his own specialism. Are you there, Arun?
Oh, yes, yes. Hello. Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Thomas and K. Siddhartha, sir, Professor Swaminathan, Professor Alexander, Professor Glenn, and all, you know, dignitaries present here, and also watching this video later on. So I'm Arun from Agra, city of Taj Mahal in India. And thank you so much for allowing me. And this is my first time I'm on such a great platform, you know, so senior platform, I can say. And I will be having my structured presentation through my PPT, and I wish the PPT is visible to you. I mean, you can see my PowerPoint, sir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So as the title of this World Intellectual Forum is having global thinking for peace and sustainability, and what role can faith, spirituality, and philosophy play in this process? So it means we are having brainstorming in this forum, maybe because the world is facing a lot of problems, and it is indeed true also. We know, especially during nowadays, we all have come across through this webinar on the Zoom, just because of coronavirus all around us. So being a biologist, a hardcore biologist, my PhD and postdoc experiences, I would like to have some science purview and very less philosophical part that I leave it for you all, senior. So this title goes like, does social neuroscience or brain education? I mean, I want to emphasize the brain biology because I'm a neurobiologist. I did my 3 postdoctoral associate in abroad in this biology. may be harnessed to create peace, sustainability, and harmony in the world. So I will be having my own points how we can use this brain biology, because ultimately it is the human brain that decides anything, that karma, love, anger, peace, hate, any all the faculties that lie in the brain. So I could just now see on the worldometer that we are now 7.8 billion people as of today, and this population is increasing quite exorbitantly year by year. However, there are a lot of casualties because of this novel coronavirus nowadays, but that is more or less, sooner or later it will be over. So we do find in the world there's a lot of variety, and variety is the nature of the color, where in physics we have read that how one white color is made up of several other colors. So in the same way, the people all over the world are having a division in the aspect of racial, gender, social aspect, religious aspect, nationalities, and several other, interpersonal and international conflicts. So people are divided, and that gives variety. And then there are a lot of problems we are discussing. Few of them are development. Many countries are, running behind because they are busy in amassing a lot of, armed race. They are getting fighter planes, missiles, etc. And there are a lot of environmental problems, human rights, human security, community harmony, and so many things are affecting, and which is having directly implication over the peaceful coexistence of all of us. And for that purpose, we are here to churn out our ideas. And why not we all humans should have an independent thinking to bring peace, harmony, ethics, morality, judgmental, and this everything. And to think about if we can have a utopia, or we can have a, like just now Professor Swaminathan says, intergovernmental, international single government kind of thing. Can we think about this? Can it be possible in the due course of time? So now I want to take you back in the Paleolithic or Old Stone Age, when there were only few million humans. Those were, just have come out from the evolution from the New World monkeys and Old World monkeys, and they were our forefathers. So this process has happened in last million years to few thousand years back. So early humans did not judge anything with logic or reason, logic and reason, but were governed by the faith, mostly due to fear. So I would like to have your attention here. Probably there was no religion, there was no instinct of spiritualism or something. They were having just eating food because they were having a habit of eating raw food, and just reproduction, because reproduction is an instinct behavior. So reproduction is done by even animals also nicely. So they worship the elements mightier than them in order to be safe and secure. And as you have heard this, that earlier these humans were worshipping fire, sky, water, stones, earth, and whatever, even sun. And they were feeling the fear, and that's why they were worshipping up. And probably later on during this period, slowly this religion might have come across, and their religious beliefs were based on the nature and natural resources. Now, during this procedure of millions of years ago, you have to come across with this unanimous, this information that human brain capacity has increased rapidly. So initially, like few million years back, this like Australopithecus and Homo habilis, their brain capacity or this neurocranium was smaller. So the brain tissue was smaller. If brain is smaller, then number of neurons, which is the structural and functional unit of the brain, was also very less. So slowly, we have come across up to now Homo sapiens now, which is having like 1700 cc brain capacity. That is the highest. And then we increased this brain size. Now brain size increased, so the brain has demarcation and partition of different parts, and that they made lead to the different functions. Now there's a one YouTube one TEDx talk by Susanna Herculano-Hosel from USA. She has talked about how during that evolution human brains increased in the size, number of neurons increased from few billion to 86 billion, whatever presently we have. And this way, we humans have a demand of more number of kilocalorie in the food, because to harness neurons in the brain is a very much, energy consuming process. So 86 billion needs around 516 kilocalorie, and we consume almost 2000 kilocalorie by food, by sitting like 2 rounds of lunch and dinner day by day. So this way be increased. And in the meantime, the daytime humans use for some motor function, doing some discovering new things. And this procedure led to the industrial revolution, and humans came up with a lot of, organs, tools, preparation. And that slowly we have come up today. Now we are having a lot of this technology. So now I would like to have your attention towards the brain and mind. So brain is an anatomical part that is, one can see it, one can feel it, one can take it out. And it is made up of blood, nerve cells, glial cells, and there are a lot of, neurophysiology and neuroanatomy. Inside the brain, there is a mind. Mind is a mental thing. It is an abstract thing that you cannot take a photograph by the neuro imaging or so. Mind is ultimate thing that we harness, and that we day by day with our experiences be updated with the basic information. Like today, I will be increasing the level of my mind after listening you. So it refers to the person's conscience, understanding, and thought processes. It keeps, now thought process, if I say, so this can lead to the even bad processes also, like a terrorist can think from this mind only, and a policeman, or be like we, all of us, having a cognitive positive aspect, we can think that way. So it is the mind that plays this whole world affection. Now, numerous problems are there in the world, especially COVID problem right now. And, we have not yet finished the empowered the cancer or HIV AIDS. Now new problem has come up, corona, or maybe in next few years, even further, some more pandemic may come up. So we have to fight this, and the solution lies with us human. Now, I borrowed this picture from the internet. It shows that there are a lot of problems in the world right now: wars, terrorism, violation of human rights, economic crisis, like that. And then the causes of that is political corruption. It is the highest, 15.3 everywhere, because ultimately, because there's more democracy in the world. So ultimately, this onus goes on a political corruption that leads all de-arrangement in other aspect, war, unfair world economy, everything. So these are the causes. Now, so the root of our global problem lies in the human brain, because as I told you, a terrorist person, I can say a bad person or good person, everyone uses its own brain, but in a different mode, different directions. One can do the positive things, one cannot do the positive things. So it is the human brain itself that has all the answers, solutions, and remedies of all the available global problems. Because we are the only having that problem, so we have the solution also. And for such solutions, like we, all of us are here, similarly, such kind of dialogues should keep happening throughout the world. Now, indeed, without any doubt, human brain is impacted by the life events or the environment. That is true. Like whatever we are in an environment, it impacts our thinking, our behavior, our personality. And thus the brain and its neural process have an impact on our environment. That affects, like terrorism, infected area, how the child start having, gun in their hand in the very early age. So, I mean, exceptions are everywhere. I'm not saying that many good people even come out from such places, but it affects. So human brain and the outer world and the environment are correlated. They work in symphony, and both things affect each other. Now there's a human cognition. Cognition is the set of faculties that allow the human mind to process input from the external world. And there are a lot of faculties of the cognition of mind, like perception, love, hate, learning, reasoning, logical and analytical thinking, vision and ideas, etc. Now, so potentially traumatic stresses, that a lot of studies are there that in the people who live in the stresses situation where the terrorism or bad things keep happening, how the brain and body functions, ultimately it affects the behavior. Other work, like in the poverty and growing up in a chaotic household or community, the people and children are affected in that wrong way. Children who grew up and amid economic insecurity in developing countries often face many obstacles in their environment also, it's true. So does the inculcation of brain education and social neuroscience can be useful to bring the peace, harmony, sustainability, and other positive impact in the world? And the answer says yes, it is so. So I'm in favor of probably, if it is possible, can we increase the brain education and neuroscience in our curriculum throughout the world? Okay, and does everyone should know the potentials of the brain, because it is the human brain only which can contemplate its own meaning. Like kidney cannot think about its function, heart cannot think about heart problem. It is the brain, and because of brain we are behaving here also and presenting our presentation. So the human brain is neuroplastic. It is the good news from the on. So it is like plastic, if you, and it can rewire if you are given a better environment or better information. It can rewire, it can reshape itself to a positive side, and it can give a result of positive thoughts, meditation, dialogue, social interaction, etc. Now, this aspect is now coming up very nicely, social neuroscience. Initially, it was thought that human brain works in solely individual basis, but now it is proven fact that there are this phenomena of mirror neurons of Valayanu Ramachandran from University of California also, that human brain and be copy from each other. It is the social interaction, how a child of two parents behave in the same way, and he or she does understand the parents' feelings. So this way, traditional neurosciences consider that human brain remain an isolated entity, but nowadays it is not so. It is affected by the environment. Like I'm here with you, so probably I'm imbibing some positive vibes in me, and that is the social neuroscience. Okay, so, and then brain education is very necessary from East and West, I mean to say. So from East, we have like meditation and yoga. And few years back, 21st June has been declared by United Nations as an International Yoga Day. And yoga is very much popular. Even nowadays in the COVID period, when people are feeling stress in their home, this meditation and yoga is affecting very positively, not only India, but throughout the world, because it affects and soothes the brain. And West has developed with a lot of technology in the neuroscience and neurobiology, like fMRI, EEG. So I want to say that East and West, like meditation and yoga, and these aspects of East and West, the technology can be amalgamated and can give a better result. And then few countries like El Salvador and Liberia, these countries have shown positive result. So there are 5 steps of brain education: sensitization, versatilizing, refreshing, integrating, and mastering. And this way we can start and inculcating this neuroscience to the students. Hopefully so, this inculcation neuroscience, especially social neuroscience, will lead to positive impact to create social, economic, and beneficial changes in the countries. So let's know more about the positive potential of the brain. The brain is the only organ, as I told you, which can think about its own meanings, and we can harness it for the positive things. And this is my last slide. Thank you so much. I tried to be in the time. Thank you, Professor Thomas.
Right. No, well, thank you so much, Arun. That was a brilliant presentation, very relevant to our discussions. And I'm speaking from close to the village called Descartes, where Descartes came from, the French philosopher who said, "I think, therefore I am." So by bringing cognition to our meeting and brain science, if we're the World Intellectual Forum, we have to know what the brain is, how it works, what is the intellect. There's some research on the heart, that the heart has its own neurology. Some people think the heart also has a sense of self and can think. So that's my only little question mark about that. I'm not sure it's all in the brain. Maybe there's something else in the heart.
Okay.
Discuss.
Yeah.
We can look at that. So thank you so much.